UFC 311 co-main event, January 18th. Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov for the bantamweight title. Credit to the UFC for putting this together. This was the fight to make, the most competitive fight they could put together. The fight that made sense, and they got it done. Credit for Merab for taking the fight. It did not sound like he wanted this fight at all. He wanted to fight Piotr Yan. He wanted to fight Sean O'Malley. He didn't want to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. But one thing he did reiterate throughout it all is, I'm a company man and I'll do whatever the UFC tells me to do. I'll fight whoever the UFC tells me to fight. And he stood by his word there. They asked him to fight Jan 18 and he took it. As far as the fight goes, maybe it's going to be a wrestling heavy, grappling heavy fight, or maybe those things get canceled out and they just strike it out. Umar's a slight favorite in this one, but maybe the incredible gas tank of Merab Dvalishvili can even out the skill gap. Who knows, but it should be very interesting. I see this going the full 25 minutes and being very grueling and very competitive. And that's the co-main event. That itself could be the main event, but that's the co-main event. Main event is Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan, part 2 for the lightweight championship. It's a rematch. Makhachev won the first fight. Tsarukyan's gotten a lot better since that time, as has Makhachev. So competitive 155-pound title fight. Also on the 311 card is Prochazka versus Hill. So, I mean, that's a really good fight. That fight could have been a headlining pay-per-view fight not that long ago as well. They're both former light heavyweight champions. Credit to the UFC for starting the year off really strong with this pay-per-view. Couple other fights on the 311 card that are going to be interesting. Bogdan Gushkov versus Johnny Walker in a light heavyweight contest. That's going to be a fun one, as is Rainier de Ridder versus Kevin Holland. Entertaining middleweight contest there. Khabib's going to have a busy night in the corner of Makhachev in the main event, in the corner of Nurmagomedov in the co-main events. 2 title fights at once. I think it's never happened before or hasn't happened until now. What a night is waiting for me. I hope I survive. Both his fighters are the favorites in the main event and the co-main event.
Merab came into the office late last night, told us that he is tired of listening to Umar disrespect him and wanted to make this fight happen as soon as possible. We called Umar. He was sleeping in Dagestan, and he said, hell yes, anywhere, anytime.
Patricio Pitbull has to be released by Bellator because they're not giving him any fights. He wants to migrate into the UFC. This is going to start a trend, and it's not surprising at all. Patchy Mix wants out. My manager told me to hold off, but I haven't heard anything from the PFL. Don Davis, if you're not going to have me fight, then just please release me from my contract. This is not what I want. But if I'm not important to the company, being a multi-time champ, then let me go, respectfully. I hope they do that and the UFC picks him up, because that's where he should be anyway. He doesn't belong fighting in Bellator anymore. He belongs fighting in the UFC bantamweight division, fighting the top guys there. So hopefully this all works out for him. He gets into the UFC where he should be right now anyways. It's a shame because the PFL was supposed to be a fighter-first organization, but then they took over Bellator and they've treated the Bellator fighters horribly. The fighter-first thing ended up being a bunch of horse shit. You got Mousasi suing them, Pitbull saying he wants to be released, Patchy Mix, one of their champions, saying that he wants to be released. And other options for fighters are kind of grim too. With one championship, you got Rainier de Ridder coming to the UFC and warning all fighters, do not sign with one. There's nothing there. You're not going to get any fights. Same thing with Bellator, so it's kind of a sad state of affairs for a lot of fighters because the 2 biggest options outside of the UFC seem like shit. Wednesday night, Dana White was in attendance at Tough Enough 140 at the Sahara in Las Vegas. He was there supporting a UFC employee who also happens to be an amateur MMA fighter, Sal Everett. Congrats to Sal Everett, who's part of the UFC family and undefeated 4-0 tonight. Horiguchi will be taking on Zulu December 31st. That's Ryzen 49. Horiguchi's another guy who should be in the UFC, and he wanted to be in the UFC, but they couldn't work it out. It sounded like an issue like they just didn't want to pay what was required to get him.
What's your issue with seatbelts?
Seatbelts, I think it's just like you get to choose if you want to wear a seatbelt. The government doesn't, they don't wipe my ass for me, and they shouldn't be able to tell me if I want to wear a seatbelt. I personally don't like them because I think, what if you got to jump out of the car and roll, duck and roll? Nobody ever thinks about that. So I don't personally wear a seatbelt, but I grew up, my mom never wore one. I just don't believe in them, and it's not up to the government to decide if I should wear a seatbelt or not.
Movsar Evloev says Volkanovski is a legend, but he's done. We'll find out. Next year, middle of the year, they'll probably fight in Spain. Although losing to Poirier isn't a good measuring stick, whether you're done or not, because right now, he's the best. UFC 310 press conference, Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Pantoja, Sakura, Rachmanov, Gary, Gon, and Volkov. Should be a pretty tame press conference in terms of trash talk. Probably nothing crazy is going to happen. If it was Ian Gary versus anybody else, there might be, but him and Shavkat have a tremendous amount of respect for each other, and they don't delve into the realm of trash talk. One title fight that the UFC has to figure out now is the middleweight title. You fighting for the belt or what, champ? Sean Strickland. And Sean Strickland says 100% he's next. Dana White, UFC, Power Slap, doing some strange promos with this OnlyFans girl. Collabing with a sex worker is a new low, Dana. Dana came back at that guy saying, put on a fucking shirt, pussy. A wonder boy of Uzbekistan, Shakrior Jurayev, scored an exceptional jumping switch knee knockout. Ben the House on third round sub by the Nomad. It could be 2 fights back. It was exactly that result against Jeff Neal. Third round, rear naked choke.
I'm over here in the UFC Jiu-Jitsu War Room. The Fight Pass Invitationals tomorrow. I'll be there live. Check it out on Fight Pass. Watch it.
100K, baby! This is for all you bums that said, it's back by nothing. It's like tulip mania. You idiots need to understand, Bitcoin is the greatest money human beings have ever invented, and you need to get on this train or you're left behind. 100K, baby, let's go!
So I was on my way home, and I literally just almost got into a fist fight with this old ass man because he threw a cup at my car. Apparently I cut him off, but I'm like, I can't see you have fucking your brights on. But he threw a cup at my car, so I rolled my window down. I'm like, hey man, would you like to pull over and discuss what just happened? And he's like, I'll kick your ass. And I'm like, bro, pull over. And he tells me, oh, you must really want to go to the hospital. And of course, this old white dude has a Trump hat. And even worse than that for me was the Gracie Barr sticker on his car. And I'm like, oh, you out here feeling safe. I see the Gracie Barr sticker, I'm like, you really feel so fucking safe out here in these streets with this fucking Gracie sticker on your car. So old ass man, whoever you are, good, you were very smart not to pull over because I would have fucking shattered every bone in your fucking torso. But these motherfuckers out here in these streets really feeling safe. And oh my God, I hate so many of these people.